We have been at the Garff Manx Radio debate this evening at the Shore Hotel in Laxey, and great turnout. Let's remind you who the candidates are. They are Daphne Kane, Martin Perkins, Andrew Smith, Jamie Smith and Gareth Young. Getting into the habit of saying this, but you know what? I think they all did incredibly well tonight. And again, I personally think it's hard to tell between them.
Yes, I would agree. Some excellent answers, good debating points. And because of the sameness in terms of the quality, I'm going to be extra picky again tonight. I'm going to look for some of the detail.
You're a frustrated teacher.
Frustrated politician, perhaps. Anyway, I mean, one of the first things that I noticed, and I thought, goodness me, do they not know this, was in relation to the UN target on international aid. There's a UN target of 0.7% of your economic output. Tynwald has a policy. I moved the motion to get the policy. We then came back as Council of Ministers with a plan as to how government was going to adopt the policy and how it was going to deliver it. All of the candidates said it would be a great idea if we had this as a target. And you think, there's two MHKs, or former MHKs sitting there, who've been in Tynwald for 5 years. There's a government policy and a plan, and nothing's been done. So
that's what happens though, isn't it? You know, things like this, they are, I suppose, a big deal at the time, but as things move along, they just get forgotten. Do they get forgotten by government who actually set it?
As it would appear, they have forgotten this one, doesn't it? But again, other really good points tonight. I particularly liked Daphne Kane's sort of finishing or closing remarks, where she actually talked about a genuine vision for the island, because ultimately all these policies, they're great ideas. I wouldn't argue with a lot of these policies, but you have to pull them all together into some sort of vision, into something that people can actually get behind and believe in. So I was pleased there with that from Daphne. Bold move from Martin Perkins, I thought, in relation to the pump or dump. All four candidates except Martin went for the pump option. Martin said perhaps we need a bit more realism here. Perhaps we need to consider realistically what can you get through Tynwald. I know from my experience as a constituency MHK in the past that you might think in your constituency, and it might be the most popular thing in the world to say in your constituency, that you want a thing done in a particular way. But if Tynwald's already made its mind up against it, then are you being honest with the public when you are saying, this is what I will demand when I get into Tynwald? Well, demand away. How do you actually deliver?
That's the age-old question, though, isn't it? And it always brings us back to whether we need party politics in the Isle of Man, because one lone voice amongst 24 people is not going to get anything done if you haven't got everybody else with you.
Yes, and that whole question of accountability then comes in. I was quite impressed with some of the comments Andrew Smith was making in relation to streamlining government. He had some very good lines there. He was also very keen that senior civil servants, heads of departments, should be accountable for the actions of their departments. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I'm not disagreeing necessarily that there may be some element of performance-related pay should be part of senior civil servants' employment package. But who's in charge? The civil servants or the politicians? And how do you hold politicians accountable when they sit in a room like we've had tonight and they say pretty much the same thing? I'm really enjoying going around everyone else's hustings. I've only ever been to my own ones before. And it's great because actually that's the theme that keeps coming back. How would you hold any of these people?
Whose job is it?
Yeah, well, it is our job, of course, as the electorate. And, of course, our job as well as the media. Jamie Smith, again, I think had some good ideas. He's very keen to point out about the frittering away of government. I think most candidates that we've heard over the course of these programmes have been concerned about the scale of waste, as it appears anyway, with capital projects. So Jamie Smith had suggested that, provided it's headcount neutral, a new capital projects unit should be established. As far as I'm aware, I think we scrapped the headcount in my time when we were in government, so the headcount's not necessarily the issue. I think the main concern is the salary bill, and what we were finding in the old system was the headcount was driving up salary costs because you ended up having to have a manager when actually you needed a couple of frontline operatives. So Gareth Young also had some very interesting points. I liked his line on the Afghan refugees with the question. All the candidates effectively said that they felt this was important. Something is done. Some were more welcoming than others, but Garff basically said it's shameful. We're such a wealthy population. I mean, it's shameful that we have poverty on the island, but it's also incumbent on us to make sure that we welcome people who are living in such dire circumstances.
I really hope at the end of this process, once we've been around all 12, you're going to hand out the notes rather like you would a school report to each candidate.
Yeah, I could do that, couldn't I? I don't think they would welcome them necessarily.
Could you call Garff then now?
The sitting candidate's always at an advantage, particularly if they've only been elected for one term. I don't like it, though, when sitting candidates say, I've served my apprenticeship and now it's time for me to get to work. You think, actually, you're only ever guaranteed 5 years and you really need to get the work done in that 5 years. And then if you get another 5 years, go on from there. So sitting candidates always have the better chance. All 5 candidates are capable. Just depends how they're getting on with knocking on doors and how much people believe what they're hearing.